It's the Omega Level Nerds, Don here, and I just want to say, the whole spoiler ... thing doesn't fucking work, okay? It doesn't work. Stop it. Just stop it. Am I right, Ray? I mean, I only use a paltry few social medias, but both of them involve scrolling down, so your little ... bullshit doesn't prevent me from knowing that the Darksaber's going to get destroyed in this episode.
Yeah, social media is never kind to spoilers. Even though they give you a ... they don't give you any time to react. So yeah, so I saw.
And we're talking about 4 hours after the thing's out. Like I'm at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting ready for work. Oh, ... spoil. Like, oh, son of a bitch! What the hell?
Yeah, that's why I watched it as early as possible, because I knew that TikTok and all the other social medias were just going to be full of this shit. So I'm like, just getting it out of the way, day it released. Normally I watch it on Fridays before we record. That way it's fresh in my mind, but I couldn't do that this time because I knew better.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I'm not too bitter about it. I only learned the one fact, and that was the fact that the Darksaber was going to be destroyed. So anyway, how the hell are you guys doing? So yeah, the season finale, season 3 finale, the return has come and gone. So Mando season 3 is in the books. So Ray, I just wanted to get your first kind of impressions. What did you think? Did you like the episode? Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great finale. I think I put too much in my head that I wanted. I wanted Boba Fett to show up, and I wanted, all these things to happen, but it didn't happen, and it didn't live up to the expectation in my head. But overall, I mean, it was a great season finale. Had really good pacing, good action, had cheering moments, had sad moments. It had a little bit of everything, and I really enjoyed it. I thought they did it really well. They handled it really, really well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I definitely wouldn't call it the perfect finale, but I also enjoyed it. And like you, I think maybe we put a little bit too much fan booking into it because
we did.
When we talk. Yeah, no, guilty as charged for sure, because we talk about, the Death Watch, the armor possibly betraying them. Obviously none of that came to fruition. I know I was speculating about Moff Gideon being part of like Darth Maul's faction of Death Watch because of the horns that we saw on his helm. But again,
but still has not been disproven, yay or nay.
Right,
that's still up in the air.
It is. It definitely is still up in the air. But what we did get, I felt was very, very good. I truly did. I felt like last week's episode and this one were kind of one and the same, because when this one starts off, like, boom, we're right there. They're dragging Din Djarin, and he escapes. And I thought, okay, that's a little bit, I don't know if anticlimactic is the word, but I mean, the last episode left off with him getting captured, and this one starts off with him getting freed. So, but we did get that cliffhanger effect, so I get it. But definitely that's not a lasting thing. Din Djarin, he gets free of the two, I don't know what they're called, because they're not Mandalorians, obviously. They're just those Imperial Beskar trooper.
We're just gonna call them Beskar troopers. I think that would be a proper term. Yeah. No, they're death troopers, but with Beskar armor. So I think we should just end up calling them Beskar troopers. Let's start a trend. Hashtag Beskar trooper.
Yeah, Beskar troopers. I think that's definitely it. So a lot of people have been down on this season. I think the biggest complaint that I've seen is that, I guess the two biggest complaints that I've seen is that they feel that this show should be every week a new adventure, every week a new bounty, every week a new...
They want an anthology series is essentially what they want. They wanted the same thing with Book of Boba Fett, but it's an overarching story. It's not that. If you want that, go read the Boba Fett comics. Then you'll get an adventure every week, a new bounty every week. And that's where you can get that fixed, But if you're coming to this show thinking that's what you're going to get, you're severely wrong, because this is... It's not just a small show on a small scale. This has reaching properties to touch into the main Star Wars canon.
Yeah.
You know, we're building up Snoke, and we're doing all these other things. You know, we're reaching back and we're going forward. So
Right.
it's not like you can make that kind of show when you're trying to tell that kind of story. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely working toward basically the sequels, the First Order, and you can see because there are things unresolved after this season. I think that this finale did wrap up things quite nicely, but at the same time, it left some hanging threads.
A
The
lot of
other,
hanging threads.
yeah, a lot, and the other
Mhm.
major complaint, and I guess I can wrap two complaints into one, is not enough Din, and there's no story. They're not doing a story, and I disagree. I can kind of see the not enough Din, but as far as like there's no story here, there is. There's a lot of development between, uh, a lot of ways that I think they displayed how Din Djarin has changed, how the dynamic between him and Grogu has changed. I just mentioned at the beginning of the episode where he gets saved. Well, that's because Grogu saves him. Like,
Yep.
not even Grogu with other people. Like, Grogu in his little mech saved Din Djarin. And then from that point, he's like, look, I need you to be brave for me, little guy. Like, we got to kill this dude or else he's going to keep fucking with us. Like, so you see that Din Djarin goes from, I got to protect Grogu, protect to, no, we're fighting together at this point. I'm trusting
Yep.
him,
Yep.
to have my
I
back.
I pretty much think he had it in his head already that he was going to be his apprentice.
Yeah.
And they had to go on their little adventures, and he has to learn to trust him as an apprentice, not just a son. So we'll see how that dynamic plays out in season 4.
Yeah. Now, and kind of
But
simultaneously with that happening, go ahead.
I've learned that in my 38 years of life, Don, I have learned that there is no pleasing a Star Wars fan. There's
Certainly
either
not.
there's either too much story, or
Yeah.
not enough story, action, or no action. They can't you
Yeah.
can't win with Star Wars fans. So
Yep.
they complain that, oh, it's veering off from Din Djarin, but it's telling a bigger story. And then they complain about that.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You want this big expanded universe, but you don't want to take the steps to get there.
Yeah.
And that just blows my mind that Star Wars fans can be that anal.
Yeah, that's why I really don't. I mean, I like to talk about it here on the podcast, and I like to give little rebuttals here to when I see, common threads of complaints online. But you're right. It's really just fandom in general. We're starting to see it with the MCU. Absolutely. And that's why I don't give it too much credence. And again, I think a lot of times it's just wrong. I mean, we talk about there's not a lot of Din in this. Din developed a lot. And I'll get into that later. As far as when it comes to droids, we'll talk about, kind of how his attitude changed. But before that, I did want to kind of touch upon, the other Mandalorians, Bo-Katan, and the rest of the Mandalorians, the rest of the Children of the Watch. So, Moff Gideon, he's going to send these TIE interceptors to go destroy the Mandalorian fleet that is like, I want to say orbiting, because they're not orbiting the planet. They're just above all the storm clouds with that Mandalorian fleet. And so, they warn that fleet. In fact, they send, I can't remember his name. He was the former leader of the Mandalorians until...
Yeah, he took over for Bo-Katan.
Yeah, he took over for Bo-Katan. But, with his backpack alone, I actually thought it was pretty cool. His jetpack, not backpack, but with his jetpack alone, he like goes through the storm clouds, gets through them enough to where he's able to like warn and convey Bo-Katan's plan of, hey, we're going to give up the ship. We're going to, get out of the capital ship, come down here, reinforce us, use that capital ship as a decoy. And, it goes off without a hitch, really. I mean, he goes in there, he tells everybody to get out. The one thing I don't get about this scene is I don't know how they got rid of the TIE interceptors. Like, it showed a couple, like how he took out a couple of the TIE interceptors with the turbo laser batteries.
Yeah, he had the auto cannons.
But I didn't think it would take them all out. But we don't see them after that because, essentially he takes over that capital ship and he points it down into where the Imperial base is on Mandalore. But yeah, that was the one thing that kind of got me is I didn't understand where the rest of those Imperial TIE fighters went, or TIE interceptors. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they just learned that Moff Gideon died and then,
No,
okay, hyper jumped out of there.
I don't think
I
it's
don't
that
know.
at all.
What do you think?
I think that these are the last of the Imperials. Like he hired the best of the best, right? Moff Gideon. He hired the red what are they called, Royal Guards, and he
Right.
had TIE bombers sent to him and all that. And these are supposed to be the best of the best, but somehow they couldn't take down one starship. Kind of makes me think that he might have got the great value TIE fighters in that
Great value.
deal.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Axe
I
Woves is
don't.
that Mandalorian's name, by the way, who was the head Mandalorian before he got beat by Bo-Katan. He's the one that escapes up and informs the rest of the Mandalorians what's going to happen and takes control of the big capital ship. So all that goes down, and so we learn what the deal is here. So in this Imperial base, Moff Gideon was cloning himself. In fact, and this is why we had the episode with Dr. Pershing, who explained the cloning process and splicing the best traits into one being, because even though Moff Gideon in the last episode tried to play off like, you're the one that's obsessed with clones, like, Moff Gideon's got his own clone shit going on, and his whole thing is he's cloned himself, and these last clones that Din Djarin and Grogu discover here have been imbued with the ability to feel the Force. Now, we never really get to make much of that because Din Djarin, like I said, finds him, destroys him, and right after that's when we get our Moff Gideon, Din Djarin, Grogu fight, which was cool. But Moff Gideon real upset that his clones, and that's why he goes in that monologue of explaining why he made these clones. But yeah.
The process of destroying those clones, I thought, was very Phantom Menace-ish.
Yeah.
When he has R5 come down and deactivate the one barrier, and he takes the troopers down like two at a time. I thought that was very like Phantom Menace-ish, if that's even a word.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was because it was the same idea, with those closing shields that prevented Obi-Wan from helping Qui-Gon while he was fighting Darth Maul. But that really was a cool scene, and that brings me back to one of my points about how, Din Djarin really has developed here as a character because he is referring to R5 as buddy. Now, this is a guy that originally didn't trust droids at all. He eventually came to trust one droid.
Yeah, I think IG-11 had a lot to do with that. To show that not all droids can be programmed to be evil, and it was fine. And it's nice that he finally trusts droids.
Mm-hmm. Yep, calling him buddies, being helped by him. So that's major development for this character that we got to witness. Another cool scene is Moff Gideon has those Praetorian guards come and help him, and they kind of chase after Grogu while Din Djarin and Moff Gideon are fighting. Also, what was interesting, or I thought was very interesting, is Moff Gideon is not actually wearing like standard Mandalorian armor. I mean, what he's wearing is Beskar. But he's wearing a power suit, which is cool because I've only seen a power suit in like the pen and paper role playing game, which the rule books are right back there. Knights of the Old Republic type shit. Like, so it's cool to actually see someone in a power suit. And I mean, he was tough because of it.
Yeah, Moff Gideon takes no chances. That's one of the best. That's one of the best characteristics of this character is that he takes no chances. He'll kill who he has to, betray who he has to, use who he has to. The man's motivated, man. He's
Yeah, for sure.
he's a great character. I
He's a
think
great
he's,
villain.
and a lot of people that I've seen it online, they're like, "Oh, good. I hope he really did burn in that fire," because I want a new villain.
Mm,
But the story's not over.
yeah. 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 Well, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think he's gone. Um, eventually what happens, Grogu and Din, they're able to defeat. I mean, really, this is all really cool fights. If you haven't seen it, obviously, if you're listening to the show, we assume you've seen it because we don't even give you spoiler warnings. We just go right into it.
Yeah.
But, real cool shit. They're chasing Grogu while he's up at the lights and stuff. And just really cool to see Din Djarin and Grogu just like throw down together, and it works. But eventually, Bo-Katan joins this fight. And some of things, like Axe Woves, he's bringing the capital ship down on the base. So he does so, he warns all the Mandalorians to get out of there. But Bo-Katan, Grogu, Din, Moff Gideon, they're still fighting down there. As this thing comes crashing down, flames everywhere. Like I said, you can assume reasonably well that Moff Gideon is incinerated, but he was wearing Beskar power suit.
True, and also look at the flamethrower usage in the last two episodes. He was burning people, and they were still fighting. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I could go both ways. I mean, physics-wise, it makes sense that because that fire was like there for a while. Like Grogu had to hold up his little force shield for like a minute. That shit was just burning, burning, burning.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a real quick thing. So, I mean, it makes sense that he would basically cook alive inside of that suit. But you don't know. This is Star Wars, and you didn't actually see him die. I mean, you saw him.
Yep.
What looks to be incinerated, but there's no ashes or anything to confirm or nothing. He was gone when it all.
I mean, Anakin survived
Yeah,
barely, but
this is Star Wars. You can get fucked up and survive and get new droid body
it's true.
parts.
Look at Darth Maul cut in half.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Cut in half and thrown down a shaft, and then he came back. So, yeah, this is Star Wars, baby.
You're not, where you're not dead till you're dead.
Yeah. So but through all this, the armorer. So I didn't even talk about this much. My favorite scene is when the Mandalorians were in their jetpacks going down the hole, and the Beskar troopers are going up the hole. And did you see that shot where it's like a point of view from one of those Beskar troopers, and it's the armorer, and she just swoops down and fucking bam. Like, the armorer doesn't use anything but that hammer and sickle thing, even while she's flying around. Just the whole time, she's just beating the fuck out of those Beskar troopers with her forge equipment. But yeah, I speculated that she may be some sort of spy, but she's in all the way.
They really led you down that rabbit hole to where I think they played on, like, you want to believe it. I think that they really played into what the fans wanted it to be, and then pulled the carpet out from you last minute, which I'm not mad, because I would prefer her not be a villain. I don't think that it would fit the story very well, because there would just be too many questions.
Yeah.
The season 1, you're underneath the Moff Gideon. Yeah, it's a little sketchy, but and then once Moff Gideon was moved off planet, and then they moved off planet, and like there's just so many questions of, well, how is she contacting Moff Gideon? How is she contacting the Empire? And there's like people trying to break it down in the previous episode where they're having the meeting, and they're all like, for the Empire, or whatever they say, and the last voice you hear sounds like the armorer, and I'm like, come on now. Come on. It just wouldn't fit to me.
Yeah. And I mentioned last show I thought they were laying it on a bit thick, so if I really thought anybody was going to turn at that last minute, it would have been the guy that was up in the capital ship. Yeah,
I can't
Vax
remember his name. You
Woven.
said his
Yeah,
name. Yeah, I would have thought it would have been
Axe
him.
Woves.
Just because of the way he made the Mandalorians leave and like go help Bo-Katan, and then
Yeah,
they all leave. Yeah, I would have assumed that he would have been the saboteur. Because then he gets
yeah,
all of his Mandalorians back. Bo-Katan's dead. He'll get the dark
right.
saber. You know, he had motive. Whereas now I'm looking at it overall and I'm like, well, the armor really doesn't have a motive to be, evil
Yeah,
and in line with Moff Gideon.
yeah. Right. She just gets to do her thing. They listen to what the fuck she says. She gets to make her armor, and
And she also
everything's.
believed that Mandalore was uninhabitable.
Yep.
So it wasn't like she was trying to rule Mandalore or anything like that.
Yeah.
She assumed like the rest of them that the planet was dead. It got mined for its resources. I don't know. I just don't see any kind of motivation now that I'm looking at it in 2020.
Yeah.
Armchair quarterbacking this thing. I just don't see any motivation. While I wanted it at the time, I don't really think I want it now that I've had time to think about it.
Yeah. I'm with you there. And so yeah, that was my favorite. That whole because that's where you could really kind of tell. Because in the last and the other thing that throws me off, Ray, is the last episode was called The Spies, and they only revealed one spy. So that was the other thing kind of feeding my paranoia there. But anyway, they kind of got in the last episode, the Mandalorians kind of got made fools of by these, Beskar troopers. But in this episode, it was total the opposite. Where like you could tell, yeah, those Beskar troopers have their cool little jetpacks and shit, but they have not fought, flying very much. Because the Mandalorians seem to just really outclass those Beskar troopers when they're fighting midair with their jetpacks. And although Bo-Katan does wield the Darksaber proudly, as we talked about Moff Gideon wearing a power suit, eventually she does join the fight between Grogu, Din Djarin, and Moff Gideon. And in that fight with his power suit, he destroys, or at least breaks, the Darksaber.
Oh yeah, he crushes it. So I got a fan theory in my head of what I think is going to happen.
Because I got one too. Go for it.
In order to link this show to Osaka, I said Osaka, Japan. Osaka, she's going to need a Jedi to fix that. She's not going to know how to fix that. So she's going to need to contact Ahsoka or Luke even.
I don't remember the droid's name, but it is still around. Believe it was in Rebels or some shit, but there is a robot, there is a droid around that is like a lightsaber armorer historian.
Okay.
So yeah, I absolutely think, I honestly, I think specifically Grogu will end up maybe being a part of the repair. But my theory is a lot like yours, where basically, yeah, it's broke, but if the crystal isn't completely destroyed, you can still make something out of it. It can be purified. That's why Ahsoka's shit is white, because her lightsaber crystals actually were Sith lightsaber crystals, which Sith lightsaber crystals are Jedi lightsaber crystals. They're just made to bleed, bleed, hence why they're red. Ahsoka was able to purify bled crystals, hence why they're white. So I think in the future we could see this Darksaber crystal that obviously is normally black be purified into white and be something that Grogu uses. And even if the crystal is broke, that's why Kylo's lightsaber is the way his is, because his shit is like broke a little bit, so it has like that those exhaust, it's just unstable plasma discharge. So they make it into that unstable design. And that's why it has the, well, you can see it there in whatever. That's why he has those two little offshoots from his lightsabers, because his crystal is flawed. And it's not as easy to direct the energy. So, yeah, I think so too. As like as far as death in Star Wars, I feel the same way about the death of Darth Saber. I think it was important. I get it though. Break the chains of it. It's no longer going to hold sway over the Mandalorians, so that's cool.
I think that's pretty much what it is.
But I definitely think it could make a comeback in some way, shape, or form. in the
because
future.
there was Mandalore before the dark saber.
Yep.
You know, so let's go back to our roots. I mean, we're starting on a fresh page here between the Children of the Watch and Bo-Katan's crew. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, because the end of the episode, obviously we get to see the Forge of Mandalore relit, which was cool. Then we see another baptism scene with Paz Vizsla's son, in the armor, and they're in the actual waters of Mandalore. Obviously, not too
Yep.
far out, so they don't fall. But yeah, like you said, the Children of the Watch and Bo-Katan's group, they're all there. Children of the Watch got their helmets on. The rest of the Mandalorians don't, but they're all standing together and they're all chill about it. But then something really important happened. Well, a couple of really, really important things happen here, and that is that, of course, Din wants Grogu to go through this, Mandalorian baptism. He can't speak though, which the armor says. Well, he can't take the creed. He's too young to speak.
Yeah.
Now, Din Djarin, who really seems to be like the ultimate Mandalorian lawyer, he really seems to be good at like lawyering what he
He's a
needs
very
to
good
exist.
broker.
Right. But he's like, hey, so if his parents gave him permission, then could he take the creed and go from foundling to, apprentice? And, she's like, well, they're either dead or nowhere near here. So, I mean, yes, but no. And Din says he wants to adopt Grogu. And the armor's down for that. She lets that happen. So, interesting tidbit here. We got Din Djarin. Well, Grogu, now that Din Djarin has adopted him as his son, he is now Din Grogu. So,
Yep.
that's like the
Another
Japanese.
another name added onto the pile of names. The child Grogu, now Din
Yeah,
Grogu.
Baby Yoda. Yeah, now Din Grogu.
God, I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't become a full-time Jedi.
Right.
Master Din Grogu.
Master Din Grogu.
Yeah. He just collects names every season.
But what is even more important and kind of a great little send-off, well, not send-off because we'll talk about that. It does have a great send-off. But before we get to that, kind of a cool like speculation thing is, like I said, they're at the waters of Mandalore where Din fell down and Bo-Katan saw the mythosaur. So while they're doing this, I'm like, is the mythosaur just chilling down there? Or, we're like, even you were saying, in previous episode, was it real? Did we actually see the thing? Well, Grogu, who we've already seen has a natural affinity with animals, whether he wants to eat them or whatnot, looks down. And I'm like, oh.
You think that he could have felt his presence
Yeah.
of the mythosaur? Yeah.
Big time, because they pan the camera down on the water, sure as shit, there it is, opens its eyes and everything. Like, there really is a fucking mythosaur chilling down there, and Grogu knows it. And my theory, Grogu's going to be Mandalore at some point, so that just kind of plays into that.
You're gonna die on that hill, aren't you, Don?
I am going to die on that hill, absolutely, all day. Yeah, so I thought it was one hell of a season. I thought it was wrapped up well because, well, I don't know how well, but Din and Grogu, they're not staying in Mandalore, because they got to go out and have adventures so that Grogu can get his training in. So they do go back to Navarro, where he was promised that plot of land. It was given to him. By the way, he had, let me scoot back just a little bit. Because before that happens, before he goes back to Navarro, he goes and meets up with Captain Carson Teva. Dave Filoni's in that scene, by the way. He goes back to that bar where Zeb was, wherever these Republic types hang out. Dave Filoni's in the background as himself. But anyway, he goes to him and basically arranges, I'm not going to work for the Republic, but I'd like to kind of subtract for the Republic. Help with all these problems out here. We just solved the big one for you. Captain Carson Teva was like, oh, it's against regulation. But anyway, seems like it's going to happen because he's like, I just want little small down payment and he asks for a head of an old assassin droid. And I almost wondered, I'm like, is that
IG-88.
yeah, is that IG-88?
No, IG-88 is still out in the universe somewhere.
Gotcha. Okay. But turns out he wants this head because he's going to take it back to Navarro and have Babu Freak's gang bring back IG-11. Not now, he's not a Grogu mech. He's back to IG-11 and makes him like the marshal or whatever, the law enforcement of Navarro. And
which I thought was very fitting because nobody's gonna fuck with an IG droid. Bottom line.
Yeah.
They're one of the most feared things in the Star Wars universe. So to have it as a marshal, ain't no pirates coming down and fucking your town up no more. Not with an IG bot running around. I don't care how friendly he looks. He is still an assassin bot.
Yeah.
that you can't kill from any angle.
Right.
Because it has pretty much eyes in every direction. You can't sneak up on it. It's really hard to kill. I wish they would have explored IG-88 just a little bit more. I didn't want to have to read about his backstory. I really wanted to see it, which is why I was hoping for like Book of Boba Fett would have, and Mandalorian, or something like that would have spawned off into like the bounty hunters.
Yeah,
because they do have the book, The Bounty Hunters, and it goes into like Dengar's past with Han Solo and all the other bounty hunters, and IG-88's background is in there. And it's really cool, but it's something I'd want to see. And then if you go back to the original Empire Strikes Back, if you listen to the director's commentary on the film, how he had to cut some things out, but they were kind of planning for a spin-off of like the bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Because he wanted that to be a very big part of the Star Wars universe, and it never happened. But he talks about it like, I really wanted this to happen, but Lucas kind of shot it down a little bit. He thought it would have been too dark for the Star Wars universe. I'm like, no, it's fucking appropriate for people like us. I would love to see the Bounty Hunters TV show. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Find out what Dengar's up to. Did he get some new wraps for his warped ass head?
Right. I wonder if we still might get it though, because this whole proposition between the Mandalorian and Captain Carson. So what I learned tonight actually is right before we recorded this is that's actually going to make it so that season 4 of the Mandalorian is going to replace that new Republic Rangers show.
Good. No overexposure. That's good.
So like Din Djarin's going to be. He's going to kind of take the place of Gina Carano's character in that show. We'll see how it works. So we could still see IG-88 because you said he's still out there. So he could definitely be one of the problems that they sent Din Djarin after. But anywho, so yeah, the whole the season, it just it ends there on Navarro. Din Djarin's got his little hut, his little house with Grogu. Grogu's playing outside. They've got a little pond there, and Grogu's floating a frog. Doesn't eat him. He just kind of floats him up a little bit and lets him go. And there you go.
I really thought that was a well-deserved ending. If you think about the last 3 seasons of Star Wars: The Mandalorian, all the shit they've been through, that was very well earned. Just to sit back, kick back, and watch your son flip a frog in the air.
Yeah.
While you kick your feet up. Like, there is peace for people. You never saw it with Luke Skywalker.
Right.
He burned his dad and they had a celebration and he was barely happy about that. But you never got to see Luke in peace. You never got to see Anakin in peace. Well, he was a tormented soul, but you never got to see really anybody in peace. But Din Djarin gets that moment of peace, and I loved it.
Yeah, it feels good for sure. I know exactly. I've been there. I've been that dad sitting on the porch watching his kids climb the tree and stuff. It feels good. So, yeah, I'm glad my man is getting a happy ending there. His adventures are not done, but definitely.
I do have a question, though, Don.
Yeah.
I want to go back 2 episodes with Jack Black and Lizzo.
Okay.
They're going to need some hired help now that the Mandalorians are off planet.
Yeah.
And you got Din Djarin looking for work. So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
definitely think we're going to see Captain Bombardier and the Duchess again.
I really hope so. Just to stick it up the snobby Star Wars fans' ass, like
Yeah,
they're back, bitches.
right. Make it
Make
yeah,
it
in
more
every
flamboyant, more
season. Yeah.
extravagant.
Have her twerk this time. I'll sign off on that. Have Lizzo twerk. It just if it'll piss off the Star Wars malcontents, go for it. Like I said, have
Marvel gets
Grogu.
away with it. If Marvel gets away with it, so can Disney.
Yeah. Good stuff there, though. Very happy, very, very happy. I don't get the discourse at all, but again, I just think that's for internet clicks and such.
I do believe that I said it wouldn't end on a downer. I think I said that like 3 weeks ago. I said this
Yeah. Oh
show's not
yeah.
going to end on a downer. Yeah, I'm just recalling what I've said over the last month and a half here.
So I'm just trying to think of here. Any, are you? I know you said you were kind of hoping Boba Fett because these titles are starting to throw me off now because last week's was The Spies, and so I don't
Mhm.
quite get that. This week was The Return, which, okay, could be the return to Mandalore, but I really thought, like when I saw that it was titled The Return, I'm like, okay, is Luke coming back? Is Ahsoka coming? Boba Fett? So, I don't know. I'm really surprised we didn't get something like that.
I don't know. Star Wars has always been very dumb with their titles.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Like
not wrong there.
like all of their movies should have been the other one's title, right?
Yeah, I've seen
Like
that. Yeah, where they've
yeah,
switched them around.
like Attack of the Clones should have been Revenge of the Sith. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Star Wars is
Um,
bad for titles.
yeah. I'll have to look. That was funny because yeah, it's like the Phantom Menace should be
Return of the Jedi is the
right.
last Jedi because
Yeah.
Luke is the last Jedi at the end. So
Uh,
yeah, it really makes no sense. But yeah, Star Wars, we love our
yeah.
titles, except Rise of Skywalker, where it wasn't really a Skywalker. But
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah, that one really threw me because I'm like, okay, cool. He's gonna be Ben Skywalker now or something, and no, it's I'm Ray Skywalker.
yeah, threw you
But I got no
off.
problem with Ray. But I know she's Super Ray, so
Yeah, well, she'll be back in a couple years with
that
her
she
own
will.
movie. So
That she
get ready,
will.
boys and girls. I can't wait. She's gonna team up with Miss Marvel and the Marvels.
Yeah, I see people are up in arms about that already. But that's another discussion. But when we talk about things returning, things that are coming back,
Hmm?
we talked about the Netflix, the Netflix Power Rangers.
Yeah,
Um, what is that called again? Once a Ranger, always a Ranger, some shit like that.
sure. I'm calling
Right.
it the Power. Yeah, I'm just calling it the new Power Ranger movie.
Yeah. Although it was really kind of weird because it was only like 55 minutes
I was
long.
actually happy. I was happy that it was 55 minutes done. I don't think
Yeah.
I could have sat through 10 more minutes. Not because it was bad, right? But
Yeah, it
just
wasn't
because.
bad.
But it wasn't good enough to mandate a hour and a half, 2 hour film. This
Yeah.
seemed like a fan film that had a lot of money put into it, and that's why they were able to do some of the things they do. I mean, you if you go and look on YouTube and what is it? Something of the Sun, Bat in the Sun, and you go and look
Hmm.
at some of their fight scenes and their choreographies, like Batman versus Wolverine and shit like that, or
Yeah.
was it Predator versus Wolverine? Either way, but go and watch some of their videos, man. They're like movie quality,
Yeah.
and this one didn't feel even close to that.
No, I was very surprised because it really does not look or feel much different than like the old TV show.
Yeah,
The
it feels like the
putties,
same. Yeah,
they're all wearing the
it
same
really.
cloth. You see the wrinkles and the creases.
Yeah,
Same
but
with the
it
Power
feels like
Ranger suits.
yeah, same production value, man. It really felt like a longer episode from the old '90s show, and I can appreciate that. But if you got the money, why not go all in? I get you couldn't get the cast, and it was kind of smart dumb, if that's even a thing, how you wrote off the other characters. Tommy got
Yeah.
absorbed, Kimberly got absorbed, Couple of cool Easter eggs in there. You know, some of the Space Rangers, the Zeo Rangers got absorbed. I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
nice, but I would have liked to have seen them. I get it. It's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and you're not trying to veer off from that. But I thought it would have been cool. You know, they brought Aisha and Adam back, and
Yeah.
they're off in space. Um, Billy, at least they brought up Billy out with the equations or whatever they were called, the Alien Rangers. When he was
The
out, when he left,
equations or whatever, yeah.
yeah, when he left in season 4 in space, he went off with them, and you never heard from him again. And then in this one, they're like, oh yeah, he spent all this X amount of years there, and you know he brought some of that tech back, and he started his own company. So, you know, that's a fun little tidbit that they threw in there. Zach is a congressman. I'm like, really though?
It's doing a
Is
little
he gonna
hip
run
hop
for three,
keto.
is he gonna run for 3 terms?
Right.
I love
Yeah,
that guy. Though.
I watching this, yeah, it was weird because it's in the kids section of Netflix, okay? So this is for kids.
Should it be though?
I don't think so, because I don't think any kids are watching this. I mean, maybe some dads are, hey, come watch the Power Rangers, and try and rub it off on their
You'd be
kids.
surprised what parents throw on for their kids or what kids
Yeah.
pick on Netflix. You know,
But
if it's anything like us, think about going back in the Blockbuster days, Don,
yeah.
when you didn't really know what a movie was about because they weren't about putting the whole synopsis on the back of the tape. It gave you a little tidbit. So what you would go into Blockbuster and you'd look at the cover,
Right.
or even take it as a comic book. How many times have you picked up a comic book and said, "God damn, that's a great cover. This is going to be a
Yep.
good story." Same thing, but with movies. And Netflix does a good job with their covers. You know,
Yeah.
except when they misspell Highlander.
Right.
For
Iglander.
for years, Don, I had to tag Amazon Prime, Tubi. I'm like, y'all need to fix the cover. It says Highlander.
Yeah.
Like I understand that Highlander isn't like Lord of the Rings
Right.
Escalon, but like, can we at least get the
Could have
right
been.
cover?
Yeah.
Hey, I like the show. I don't care what anybody says. I like the show. The shitty movies, like the Source. Like, oh
Well,
man.
they fucked that
Oh,
all up.
hi.
That's
Oh,
the problem. There
yeah.
can only be one. Next movie. There can only be one. I'm on the one now. Oh, next movie. Oh, there's more. I can only. Yeah.
No, 2, Don. Oh, if you do not watch the Renegade version of Highlander 2, which is the director's cut, they called it
Yeah.
the Renegade version. If
The
you watch the
Renegade
original cut, they're fucking aliens, Don.
Yeah, the bird aliens.
They're aliens. Yeah, I'm glad they retconned that shit real quick because we're like, whoa, we got to make a TV series, boys and
Yeah. From
girls.
Zeist. I can't remember. I remember that. From Zeist. Yeah. They were aliens.
God. But then you watch the Renegade version, they take all that shit out. So the only version that you can really watch nowadays is the Renegade version.
Yeah, yeah.
For good or worse. But Power Rangers, Don.
But Power Rangers,
felt-
yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised that they didn't update the aesthetic much, and that's kind of cute and endearing. So I'm down for that. But yeah, it's just the only CGI is we do get a Megazord battle, so that's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
The Megazord CGI still not terribly updated though. I mean, they still kept the aesthetic.
But still better than the Power Ranger movie.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Better than the Power
That
Ranger
fucking-
movie.
Every time I watch that movie and I see that Zord battle, and I'm just like, God help me. They're gonna knee him in the balls. CG knees in the balls. It was so awful to look at. And how do you do that with a huge multi-million-dollar budget that they had for that movie?
Yeah.
Y'all couldn't have put. You weren't paying the cast that much because I've read
Couldn't
the
have.
reports of what they were paid.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you went all out for the cast or the sets, but that CG could have been a lot better. I guess they didn't
Yeah.
want to wait for like Industrial Light and Magic or something. Like they're just like, all right, well, we got a guy here on Craigslist that says he'll do it for $350 and a pack of Newports. All right, let's get him. Yeah, he sounds great. He's qualified.
Pack and ship it. Yeah, he was
Yep.
fired from Nintendo or something. Well, he'll do our graphics.
But I will say that the choreography was good.
Yeah.
It always made it, Rocky was kind of, he's a little bigger than what he was, and
Yeah. When he was a
I get
Ranger,
it.
he wasn't, though. So you could tell he
I,
wasn't in the Ranger suit.
yeah, I know when he was in the Ranger suit, he was thinned down, kind of like the kid in Turbo, how they had to like grow him up to be an
Yeah.
adult. But I'm like, okay, I can look past it. Fuck it. I did it for Turbo. I'll do it again. But the choreography for this was actually really good. It felt genuine to the original. Um, but the fucking Rita robot thing was just the dumbest. Why? I
Yeah.
get that the actress that plays Rita is no, I'm sorry, the Japanese Rita is dead. The American Rita, I believe, is still alive because she did the voiceover.
Yeah, the voice. Yeah, because she did the voice here.
Right, but then they put in Robo Rita, and I'm just like, but why? And then she's gonna like her whole entire plan was to go through a time portal to when she's first released out of the dumpster in the
Right.
pilot episode to tell herself how to beat the Rangers. Why wouldn't she just go back and defeat the Rangers? Or she was gonna kill them before they became Power Rangers.
Right.
Then but then here's what you get. Zordon was it wasn't like Zordon was eyeballing these teenagers the whole time. He said,
Right.
Alpha, get me 5 teenagers with attitude.
Right. He could have
That could have
picked
been,
5 more
it could
easily.
have
Yeah.
been anybody. So she would have killed these 5 Rangers. Zordon would have just found another 5 Rangers, man. There's
Right.
plenty of teenagers in Angel Grove. Look at Ernie's juice bar, which was a nice touch that they touched back on that. And they
Yeah.
said, do we have Ernie's recipe? I thought that was pretty wholesome because I believe Ernie's dead too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of dead Power Rangers. Bulk and Skull. They teased them, but they didn't show them, and
They
I was
did. They
really
were
pissed
on a
off about
sign.
that.
Yeah.
I was pissed off with that. I'm like, just show them. They need
Which
the check.
Well, yeah, you really would expect to see them because, listen, I dropped off of Power Rangers basically after the movie. So I
Okay.
didn't go much beyond Zeo or, Turbo Rescue, whatever. But what I do know is those two actors, the two actors that played, Bulk and Skull, were on that fucking show like
Oh yeah,
more than any other actors.
yeah.
So, yeah, for them not to be in this,
And they would come back and cameo, even when they did the Forever Red episode, and Tommy's on a beach somewhere. They call Tommy, and Bulk and Skull answer the phone and hand it to Tommy. Like they come
yeah.
back for all these things, but they didn't want to come back for this. Come on, you guys got a lot more
Yeah, that was.
dedication than that.
Yeah, that was really weird because, obviously they didn't want to come back. Amy Jo Johnson, she didn't want to come back. I know she had yelled about that on Twitter about, well, I don't want to be 50 years old in, a spandex suit. So whatever. Catherine was there.
Better Kimberly anyway.
Jason David Frank. He, obviously that tragedy happened recently, but, he had also wasn't going to return in this role. But yeah, it was strange. I saw something today like
Jason,
top 10 dead Power
Jason,
Ranger actors. I'm like, there's enough for a top 10 list? Holy shit.
Yeah, we got dead Rangers. We got murdering Rangers. We have tax evading Rangers. Yeah, we got a little bit of everything here in the power. We got successful voice actor Rangers.
Yeah.
You got Adam, who voices Ichigo, and
Yeah.
now he's the voice of Broly in Dragon Ball Super. If you ever want to hear his Broly, I'm not sure. Was it in Superhero? Was he
Yes.
the Broly? 'Cause I know they didn't get Vic Mignogna to come back for that.
Yeah, I just watched that
So
in English yesterday, so yeah.
excellent. So then you got Johnny Young Bosch as Broly in that.
Yeah.
In order to hear his Broly before, they took Vic's voice out of Dragon Ball Fighter Z and replaced it with Johnny Young Bosch in an update.
Huh.
So
Nice.
So Vic is no longer the voice in that, and he no longer gets royalties. Yeah, but that was the first time you could hear Johnny as Broly, and I was like,
Nice.
okay, cool. But successful Rangers, man.
Yeah,
There is life after Power Rangers, not for everybody.
yeah.
Usually for the standouts. If nobody stands out, nobody's gonna make it. You're gonna be making Lifetime movies for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Look at Johnny Cage from the Mortal Kombat movie. You know, he went on to make Lifetime movies, and he's, you know, a freaking millionaire just making these things. Amy Jo Johnson did the same thing. She went to go make heartbreaking, you know, I'm So Sad Lifetime movies.
Yeah, it's a paycheck.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, not everybody can be JDF, the standout of the entire series. Let's be real
Right,
here. Nobody's clamoring for Austin St. John. Sorry,
right.
you know, you went to become an ambulance driver, and that's what you did. And you know, now you come back at conventions and things like that, and now you're trying to make it like, oh, I love the Power Rangers. It's like, dude, you ran from it for 20 years. But you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then
Overall,
the one Red Ranger, he murdered that girl and threw her body over the boat, and he went to jail.
yeah.
Oh well, you know, we salvaged what we could, guys. You
Go
know,
go
I really
murder
did.
Ranger.
You know, I really honestly didn't expect Johnny Young Bosch to come back. I thought maybe he was too big for this, but you know what? He respects his roots, right?
And that's
Look
awesome.
at like it is to respect where you came from. Like there's so many actors out there that if they start in a horror movie before they became famous, they shun that movie. They don't talk about that movie. Jennifer
Yeah.
Aniston, the first Leprechaun movie. Brad Pitt got his fucking first acting gig in an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, but he won't talk about that. Uh, yeah, to go back and respect your roots and where you came from is just really cool. Like JDF learned that a long time ago. Like you don't forsake your roots. Be proud of
Yeah.
where you came from because it helped you become the person that you are today. But you know, not everybody's the same. Amy Jo Johnson and they're just, you know, they're humans. They don't want to do it anymore. I get it. But I'm surprised they got David Yost back, man. The drama that he had in Saban and, you know, the people
Yeah.
behind the camera.
But that was kind of what made this cool though. I mean, obviously he was the lead and, you know, hopefully this kind of made up for, you know, the shit he went, you know, the homophobic shit that he went through
Yeah.
during the original show. So hopefully this gives him a little redemption and a better taste in his mouth for the property. Overall, though, I felt that this was a very. I don't know if this was the entire reason for this show, but this definitely was a big tribute to Thoy Trang, who, you know, played Trini.
Really?
You know,
Yeah.
the whole premise, you know, I mean, the way they wrote her death, you know, into the premise of the show was really cool, and I think it was just a very touching, you know, tribute to her. Uh, Other than that, how did you feel? I guess there was one thing I was disappointed on, but I understood, and I was really hoping because they mentioned the Dragon Zord, but we don't get to see it. We don't get to see the Green Ranger outside of his suit, obviously before his suicide. Jason David Frank chose not to be a part of this. But I was really disappointed I didn't get to see some. That's my favorite Zord, the Dragon Zord. So were you disappointed with that, or we pretty much knew that was going to be the case?
No, no, because you think about where Rita was trying to go. She's trying to go back to the very first episode when she's released from
Yeah,
the pod, and that was before the Green Ranger. So I thought that it was fitting to not have the Green Ranger be a big part of this. No, I wasn't disappointed. I do love the Dragon Zord. I love the flute. I love everything about it. But
yeah,
to see the Megazord, I think has a special place here because you're coming from a kid that has always loved, you know, giant robot movies and
mm-hmm,
mechs and things like that. And to see the Megazord, and that was one of the things that really brought me into the show. Not the karate, not the putties. Well, the monsters were a big part of it because I absolutely loved the creature
yeah,
creations of Power Rangers. Um, but the Zords, man, to see a mech fighting every week was just really cool. And it had a power sword and it had a combination video, and you know it assembled, and it was just so cool. It
yeah.
blew my mind as a kid. Uh, so seeing the Megazord more than the Dragon Zord, I think, was fine for me. Um, because it does. It's not about Tommy in this one. It's about the originals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Trini's daughter. I forgot. She's a part of this movie, but she's really not a part of this movie. Like she's the main
Yeah,
centerpiece. We want to get her to that point,
yeah,
but she's not ready for the power and all that, and she's kind of a whiny teenager. Like I get it, Rita killed your
that
mom
she
a year
is.
ago, and
Yeah,
yeah, and I've been training for this, but then you get your ass kicked by putties. Like, were you really
yeah,
ready? Okay, go back to the first episode with Billy, right? He was just a nerd learning
yeah,
karate, right? Like
yeah.
he was just taking his first class, and he's getting his ass whipped by putties. So I
By
thought that was a
Putty.
nice little come around.
Yeah,
And then she becomes the saber-toothed tiger, and of course it looks great. It was always my favorite mask, like with the teeth that come down, and like
yeah.
it
The
was
teeth
always
that
my
came
favorite.
down.
Yeah, the Dragon Zord had a great look with the diamond in the head and all that with the
That,
armor. I always
yeah,
thought that
that
was a nice
armor.
touch.
Remember they got
But
transferred on to the Red Ranger for an episode. I thought that was cool.
yeah,
Um,
but I always thought that like the T Rex was the only Zord like that would actually be effective in a stand up fight.
right.
Like what is the Triceratops, the Mastodon, what's it gonna do?
Yeah, I mean
Ter-
maybe the pterodactyl flying around, but yeah, you're right. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was definitely the coolest one, the one that could stand up in a standalone fight.
yeah, it fought the Dragon Zord a couple of times.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah,
win, but it still did it. When they couldn't
yeah.
form the Megazord, they still had the T Rex. And it could still whip its tail around and claw, short arm claw.
Short arm claw. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Funny part, you mentioned you talked about the putties a little bit earlier. I remember one part that made me giggle is when the putty showed up. They did the and
yep,
Caitlin was like, "Oh, they still sound like angry turkeys." I'm like,
yeah.
that was funny. Um, I, and this may still happen, so hopefully I'm not breathing this to existence. But I'm very surprised. Places like Nerd Erotic, Geeks and Gamers, Eric July, all the conservative, anti woke.
Mhm.
I'm surprised they haven't caught on to this yet because Trini's daughter like saves a gay couple, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
You're right.
waiting for somebody to jump on that and start. Oh my God, Netflix and Power Rangers is woke and blah blah blah. Like it was hasn't happened
Fucking
yet, but
Power
I'm
Rangers.
just
Fucking
yeah
Power Rangers. Man, you really can't. How much agenda can you really push in Power Rangers, man?
yeah.
Come on.
But so keep an eye out for that, ladies and gentlemen. See when they pick up on that. Maybe they won't. Maybe they didn't watch it, but I was
If anybody,
surprised.
if anybody had the right to push an agenda, it would be David Yost.
Yeah, sure.
As an openly gay man for 30 years now,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't, and he had a lot of I think he had a lot of sway in this show. Um and he could have done that. That could have been his call, like, hey, make them two, that gay couple over there, to a husband and husband. It could have been, but why not? Gay people exist in Angel Grove. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah. So that shouldn't be made a big deal out of, but we'll see.
It's
We'll
not,
see.
dude. It's a throwaway scene. That's
Yeah.
all it is. There's no agenda here. There's no ideal pushing. It's a throwaway scene. That's it. It's just kind of saying, "Hey, we're current with the times."
Yeah.
That's it. You know?
Um. Outside of that, boy, they kind of get Rita obviously is defeated. But yeah, like Billy like stabs her right through the chest from the back. Like she kind of gets. I didn't expect that. I did not
Yeah,
expect like
yeah. There were no sparks in that one. Normally,
they
whenever
were.
they slash them, man, they just sparks fly out. Because that was the kid friendly thing to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how Wolverine in the animated show couldn't kill stab anything except
Yeah.
robots,
Right.
or someone that could, like Mr. Sinister, that could regrow their
Right.
shit, or you
Exactly.
know Yeah, that was the same thing. That was the sparks were just for censorship.
Yeah, because yeah, even yeah, you know what? Now that you mention that, like I'm thinking about the putties in this one, they turned to like rocks.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're right. Definitely, they went a
they
little
didn't
bit
just
more
sit there.
hardcore.
Yeah, they didn't just sit there flailing around until they
Yeah,
disappeared. Yeah.
yeah.
Can we
Um,
both agree that the evil Zed putties were the worst idea ever? Like, okay, how do we defeat these new putties from Lord Zed? Oh, we gotta punch him in the Z. A big
yeah, big Z in the
circle
middle of their
Z.
chest. Yeah, yep, you're right.
Uh, Worst idea ever.
When it's all said and done though, we got pretty nice tribute, to the actors. I keep forgetting her name, but Jason David
It's a great.
Frank and Three
Yeah.
Trang.
Yeah. It's a great homage. It's just, hey man, we're celebrating 30 years of Power
Yeah.
Rangers. How cool is that? Most shows, unless you're The Simpsons, South Park,
Mm-hmm.
um, NCIS, I think is another one that's up there.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Getting there.
no, SVU, Special Victims Unit.
Right.
Law and Order's still running.
Law and Order,
I
right?
mean, these are very, very long running shows, and the fact that Power Rangers, a kids show that just battles monsters, it's not some intricate Game of Thrones story, man. It's
Yeah.
just teenagers saving the galaxy or saving the world or time or whatever they're doing. It's just cool that a show like that with such a simple premise can survive this long under different distributors, under different owners. I mean, Power Rangers is owned by Disney. Is it, wait, yeah, I think it's owned by Disney now, right? They
I
own
think
Nickelodeon.
so.
Who
And
owns
yeah,
Nickelodeon? Well, whoever owns that owns Power Rangers. Like it was
and the
Saban for the
Turtles.
longest time. Yeah, it was Saban for the longest time, and then they got sold off. But the fact that Power Rangers has persevered through 30 years just blows my mind.
No, Paramount
And
Networks owns Nickelodeon.
oh, there you go. Yep, there you go. So Paramount owns Power Rangers, essentially, right? Unless
Yeah.
Saban bought it back that I don't know about.
No, I
Did
think you're
Saban
right.
buy it back? Did Saban buy it back? I don't remember the news of that. Because I know that they released it when they did the Power Ranger movie in 20 was it 16,
Oh, okay.
17?
Here's where you. Okay, no, you're right. You got it down. So right now, Disney
Saban.
did own it, but Saban
Oh, okay,
has regained it since 2010. So it
gotcha.
was
Yeah.
it was Toy Company from 1993. Then Saban Entertainment 1993 2001. Walt Disney Company 2001 2010.
Yep.
Oh no, okay, no, Saban again 2010 to 2018. Now Hasbro owns it.
Hasbro. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, now look at all those different owners, completely huge
Yeah.
corporations and conglomerates. And Power Rangers is still around, baby. It's still a hot property, and we're celebrating that. As a kid that used to go out and play Power Rangers, on the playground and argue over who's going to be the Red Ranger, who's going to be the Green Ranger. You know, it's just it's nice. It was very fitting, and I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they
Yeah.
did something. To let a 30th anniversary, a milestone, go to waste is just horrifying to me. It's like killing my childhood. I'm not a fan of that.
Do you think they'll do any more then?
Power Rangers, like
Mm-hmm.
celebration,
Like
like
this,
these
like an
older.
hour, you know.
No, no. I think unless the 50th comes up and some of the actors are still alive, I don't see them doing this every 10 years. Honestly,
Yeah.
it took 30 to get this one. So I mean, maybe for the 50th, maybe. And I wouldn't doubt that Power Rangers is still around because you can interchange the characters, you can interchange the times, the dimensions, everything. Power
Yeah.
Rangers is Power Rangers, you know? It'll always be that simple concept of good versus evil, and that'll always sell to kids. and even some adults.
Yeah, I mean, if it's got giant robots, I'm there. So it's my candy. All right, well, so there you go. I mean, it wasn't a masterpiece. We're not talking Shakespeare here, but, a good little tribute there, 30-year anniversary. Good tribute to the Yellow Ranger and, Jason David Frank. So nice touch there. I enjoyed it. So check that out on Netflix if you got about an hour. And you don't mind watching an hour-long episode of the Power Rangers, because it's not really that updated. It was very similar to the old show, outside of the Megazord. Had some CGI touch-up, but does not look drastically different than what it did in the original show. So go check it out. All right, well, that is going to be it for this edition of Omega Level Nerds. Make sure you become an official Omega Level Nerd by subscribing to the YouTube channel. We're desperately in need of subscribers. Like the content and comment. Let us know what you thought of this last season of The Mandalorian and, of course, this Power Rangers on Netflix. Let us know what we thought about that. Before I go, 8-Bit Ray, fellow contributor to Superheroes Speak, hosted the Gorilla Brain podcast, hosted the Overlook Hotel.
Twitch streaming extraordinaire. So I'm the king of Resident Evil.
Oh, the Resident Evil snob, yes.
I'm a Resident Evil snob.
Yeah,
so yes,
go
I
check
am.
him out there on Twitch. He's always doing something up there. Make sure you check him out. Of course, again, the Twitters is where you can find our show at Omega Level Nerds. If you don't have Twitter, you can email the show, omegalevelnerds@gmail.com. And there we have it. So, again, Mandalorian Season 3 is in the books. So not quite sure where we go from here, but I'm sure something will pop up here soon that I want to talk about it. Perhaps Ray will join me then. I know we got Ahsoka coming up. I know we got Star Wars Vision 2 coming out, but I know that's kind of a deep cut Star Wars. It's not got the pop that The Mandalorian has, but nonetheless, we will be back. Until then, see you next time.